Thank you for spending time with us here at Retiring Well. We got a great action-packed show lined up for you this week. We're going to start off with simplifying or consolidating some of your accounts. Sometimes people get accounts scattered all over. Why does it make sense to bring those together? Then we're going to be talking about some new incentives out there for retirement savers. Getting into planning for a vacation or planning for a retirement. Oftentimes, people spend a lot of time planning for vacation, and I think you'll be surprised in some numbers out there. And to wrap up the show, you hear us all the time talking about planning. We're going to describe what is retirement planning. All this and so much more this week here on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
We're going to take a little bit of time here today and talk about consolidation of accounts. You know, oftentimes when John, Nick, Jack, or I sit down and talk with people at our various offices across Northern Michigan here, and we talk about, you know, and they kind of lay on the table all these various accounts, and maybe you're one of these people as well, as you have an account here, an account there, and sometimes people don't even know all the accounts they have. Oftentimes, you know, sometimes clients have been with us for 1 or 2 years, and they said, oh, I got this letter in the mail, and it's from this company I don't even know of, and we start helping them research it, and they had an old 401k or something like that. So, you know, why is it important to consolidate account? And when we talk about that, it's a lot of more, maybe use the word organization of accounts, where we, you know, getting your pieces of that puzzle laid out on the table all together so we can start putting them together. You know, I know, John, you've worked a lot with a lot of our clients and soon-to-be clients with different things, with trust and all that sort of stuff. And how do you see that shaping up with those things?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about like these after-tax types of accounts and everything. So yeah, that might be if you have an account titled in your trust, or what if it's an individual account that is transferable on death to, let's say, your trust, or it's a joint with rights of survivorship type of structure for you and your spouse with, again, probably adding hopefully that TOD or transferable on death, and maybe going to your trust in this example. So came across a situation last week where I was talking to a couple, and they basically said, yeah, we've got this account and that account and that account, and ultimately the end goal of each of the accounts was, in their case, they had a trust set up, and so all of the assets were meant to be funneled to the trust when they pass. So our conversation ultimately led to, and the way they were invested in each of these was pretty similar in all reality. And so it was one where they said, oh yeah, I sort of, like you said, I forgot I had that account until I came across this statement and everything. And so sometimes it helps to ultimately simplify things and maybe funnel those into one account if that makes sense ultimately from an investment standpoint and a tax standpoint. But again, it may be that process of trying to simplify things a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and when you talk about kind of those after-tax accounts, and I think about like retirement accounts, you know, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, all that sort of stuff. You know, I'll start with, sometimes people come in and they say, guys, I just want to put everything in one account. Well, remember, IRA, individual retirement account. So if you're married, you and your spouse each need to maintain your own separate retirement accounts. That's as far as you're going to consolidate those. But what about having all these different accounts out there? Maybe you have an old 401k from a previous employer. Maybe you have your current 401k. Maybe you have an IRA that you started or rolled over. You needed to put some money in there for tax reasons, so you kind of had this account. Again, working through, and when we start building this retirement plan and investment plan and stuff like that, you know, having these pieces come together so we can build that puzzle together and consolidating them have some big benefits. Eventually, you're going to want to start drawing money off of these, right? It's easier to do that, and quite frankly, we can plan more efficiently when we have these coming out of one account. Required minimum distributions down the road at 73 years old for most of you. Starting to look at, you know, when we have to start adding those balances together. If there's all these accounts spread all over, it's more of a challenge to get that accurate number so that you're not paying any sort of tax penalty with taking incorrect required minimum distributions. From a reporting perspective for yourself, just looking at performances and stuff. Again, getting a one consolidated statement versus looking at 4, 5, 6 different statements can be beneficial from that perspective. So again, why is some of this happening? Well, a lot of it's just for convenience, but also when you get into that retirement, we're focusing on that retirement plan that's going to involve income, investments, taxes, estate planning. We don't want to miss anything. You don't want to have any loose ends out there that could potentially cause some problems for you down the road.
Yeah, and that's where I think sometimes you might have different custodians holding your different investments, and sometimes people will say, well, I'm well diversified because of that. But what, as an example, what if you had the same mutual fund or exchange traded fund at one custodian, say a Fidelity or whatnot, and another same position at Schwab or TD Ameritrade? Well, that's not necessarily what we would consider diversification. So again, it comes back to ultimately how do we simplify things as time moves along, and as you get older, I'm sure that's something that would be helpful for you, is to ultimately build a simple plan that you can follow, and ultimately give us a call. We'd be happy to sit down and walk you through that and help you plan to retire well.
The culture in our office is phenomenal. We empower our team to be problem solvers. Oftentimes in this industry, things are going to change. So our team is empowered here to make decisions and to be able to problem solve for you. We have a lot of fun at the office, and we're a close group. When you call here, you get a person, and that culture shines through.
Relationships are so key when it comes to anything in life, and so here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we focus a lot on team approach. We've started the Centennial Wealth Health Club.
We go down to the beach, we play some beach volleyball, some cornhole. Great time to just get together, relax with the team, but also get a little competitive as well.
It opens up those relationships to really get to know each other well. Building trust, the best definition that we've heard is consistency over time, and that's something that initially you can't get with a first meeting with someone, but as time evolves and our clients are working with us, they not only experience that with the financial advisory team, but also our tax team and health insurance team that all work together to ensure that they have a lifelong plan that they can count on.
It's a neat culture here in a small office. You don't necessarily have a lot of that corporate overhead. If we have a client who wants certain services, we can certainly offer those services, but go above and beyond with some of the other things that we do.
Confidence is something hard to put a price tag on. Finances don't just end with finances. Finances flow over into relationships, into daily emotions. And so when you can teach and you can get them to understand and they can find that confidence and you bring them to that, that's so rewarding.
I do think that what we're doing here is important. A lot of people think that they're fine, but they've never really looked into it. So if people can do more to be able to help themselves live a more fun and enjoyable retirement, but also to be able to take care of themselves, then it benefits the whole community.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, and to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we take a holistic approach to your retirement planning. So it's not just looking at what your investments are, but what is that long-term income plan for the next 30, 40 years of your retirement? What about taxes and what role they play in your retirement plan? Estate planning, what about life insurance, health insurance planning, all key areas to consider when looking at your retirement. So please visit our website or call the number on the screen. We'd love the opportunity to sit down with you for a no-cost, no-obligation visit. In late 2022, the Secure 2.0 Act was signed into law, and with that came some different changes to your retirement savings. So I'd like to walk you through what that looks like, and hopefully the goal with this is to improve some of the long-term financial health and ultimately retirement planning. Let's start with first the student loan 401k match that begins not till 2024, but this is a scenario where employees can match a portion of employees' contributions, and ultimately you can get a credit. So for student loan payments towards your 401k, and they're going to be determined by your employer sort of how that might work out. So instead of potentially choosing to delay your retirement plan contributions until your student loans are paid off, this may give you a way to still be paying for those student loans but still receive some additional benefits from your employer. Another area is 529 to Roth IRA rollover. So let's imagine for a moment you have a leftover 529 plan that wasn't used in full for college expenses, or maybe you never ended up utilizing or going to college, and so you've got that money that was set aside for education. Now you have the ability to turn that into a Roth IRA that could be used for your retirement. Now there's going to be certain rules that apply, such as a $35,000 lifetime maximum that can be shifted over, and the plan must be in place for 15 plus years, and there's different annual limits, so a lot of different rules to follow within that, but that would be an option. Another unique one is gift cards for 401k contributions. So employers can now sort of provide some small incentives, such as gift cards, to sort of boost employee participation within 401k plans. Another with emergency savings accounts. So employees can offer contributions to be made to these separate emergency savings accounts, and there's going to be a cap of $2,500 per year, but the withdrawals then would be penalty free. And when leaving your job, though, one advantage is this account could then be sort of converted over to a Roth account. So one thing to be paying attention to. Another, higher catch-up contribution limit. So as it stands now, beginning at age 50, you're allowed to make higher contributions into 401k, IRA, etc. So beginning in 2025, individuals ages 60 to 63 will be allowed $10,000 annually versus the $7,500 today. Another is automatic 401k enrollment. So beginning in 2025, this portion of the Act is intended to get younger employees contributing earlier, which again is something that as you're hopefully starting a retirement plan, the earlier the better, or if you're already in a position where you're a bit older, encourage those younger folks, maybe the children or grandchildren perhaps, to say, hey, here's the benefits of starting to contribute at a young age. And the one challenge within this, with the automatic 401k enrollment, it reduces some flexibility as everyone's situation is a little bit different, and how they're going to operate and build a retirement plan. So again, as we talk about all these different options that are available to you, again, there's going to be pros and cons of everything that you do within a retirement plan, and so that's where you want to find out ultimately what best works for you. So here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we're looking at all of these different areas and staying up to date on the current plans that are available, the current tax code. That's where we have a tax team that helps look at that and sort of determine what fits in. Another area to consider is like health insurance and what that looks like and what the costs might be involved if you're at a point where you're looking to retire either prior to age 65 and Medicare, or at 65 and all the options that come along with it. So if you're in a situation where you'd like that no cost, no obligation second opinion, we'd welcome you to give us a call and sit down and just have a conversation and see where you are and see if there's a way that we might be able to help you plan to retire well.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
I often have joked over the years about I think people spend more time planning for their family vacation than they do their retirement. Well, just recently I was fortunate enough to go on vacation with my family, and we were down in sunny Florida, and I was just kind of one day was observing kind of the crowd around and was just watching, young families enjoy time, maybe seeing what I thought maybe were empty nesters, maybe their kids were out of the house enjoying vacation, and then I saw probably many retirees that were enjoying their time. And it got me thinking about the topic that I often joked about was, planning this vacation, because we just went through the process, or not just with us, but it had planned this vacation, and it took a fair amount of time to, to do that, and the different attributes that go along with that. And then from a retirement issue, kind of going through the planning steps of that. And so I did a little digging into this and kind of thought it was interesting in some of the stuff that I come across. So recently there was actually a survey done, and they surveyed a group of people, and 50% of those people spent greater than 5 hours researching a new vehicle. 39% of them spent the same amount of time researching their upcoming vacation, but only 11% spent that same amount of time planning their finances. So as you can see, vehicle apparently is the most important thing, then vacations, and then way down at the bottom is the time spent planning for your financial sort of stuff. On average, an average family spends 10 to 20 hours planning a vacation. And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's probably pretty accurate. I think of, what are you planning? First, where are we going? When are we going to go? How are we going to get there? Where are we staying? What are we going to do when we get there? And then how are we getting back or home, right? So there's a lot of aspects that go into that. And then all the details, the specific things, if you have to get, tickets or do some sort of from your attractions or things that you want to do when you're there. And then I thought it was interesting, too, that another study was done, and the average American worker spends during their work day throughout the year 200 hours daydreaming of vacations. So they had 200 hours. That's like, what? Several weeks of work, they're just daydreaming of planning a vacation. So vacations obviously are on a lot of people's mind. So what is the greatest concern when somebody's planning for their vacation? They didn't get a good deal, is what their biggest concern is, and why they spend extra time looking or researching is they want to feel like they're getting the best deal. So now I think about retirement. What are people's biggest concerns with retirement? Pretty much the single biggest concern is running out of money. Vacations is about getting a deal. Retirement is kind of similar, but I don't want to run out of money. I definitely don't want a bad deal there, right? But think of all the things that go into planning for retirement. When are you going to retire? How much am I going to need in retirement? What am I going to do in retirement? And then the physical, financial, all of those pieces that go along with it. We talk about it all the time, right? If you've watched the show for any time, we talk about planning, and from that perspective. And then at the end, action, doing it, right? So it's amazing to think about when I read these statistics and look and think of this, is that people are spending more time researching the vehicle they're going to buy, planning the vacation, and way more time just daydreaming of a vacation. So folks, I hope you do enjoy those vacations. I hope you get that new vehicle and take the time to do that, because boy, just coming back from vacation recently, they're wonderful, aren't they? Getting away with family and friends and enjoying that time and that relaxing piece and maybe a different place and exploring new places is a beautiful thing. But when it comes to retirement, don't take it lightly. Don't brush that off and be afraid to plan for that. Oftentimes I think people are afraid to, and this is just an opinion, because they're concerned that maybe they're not going to get the answer they want to hear. Let's get an answer. Let's get to the bottom of this and figure out how we can plan for your retirement, because guess what? This is something real. I know so many people are working towards that day of retirement and all the things that go along with that. Let Centennial Wealth come alongside you and hold your hand during that process so we can help put together your retirement puzzle so you can plan to retire well.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
So Art Canfield and I grew up in Traverse City here together, about a mile down the road from each other.
John and I have been best buddies since we were in kindergarten.
Met each other in kindergarten at Glen Loomis Elementary.
I still remember one of the earliest memories of John and I connecting way back in our kindergarten class.
We always would have sort of a business mindset when we were trading our basketball cards and football cards of, okay, what's the value of this versus that?
We had all these dreams of playing in the NFL together.
He was the center on the football team. I was the quarterback.
I've been protecting him my whole life, you know, and so now we get to do it in the business world.
With a low bass, here for the thrill, I don't need a chaser. Wanna vibe it to get away. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah,
each of us stood up in each other's weddings, and now we've enjoyed seeing our families grow together and spend time together.
Working with John and Art is awesome. The camaraderie that they have, the banter that you hear on a day-to-day basis is just, it's so much fun.
They're very authentic. These people are in it for the right reasons, and they're really genuinely doing what they can to help people. That, to me, makes all the difference, that I can feel good about the work that I do working with them.
Who they are as people, their values, they truly want to help people. That kind of permeates through the whole culture of our office.
Being so similar but different in certain ways is such an asset, not only for our team, but also for our clients, to be able to have, I think, our experience in valuing relationships so importantly.
Something that's so vital within business is having that trusting relationship. As Art and I have had that trust built over the past 35 plus years now, so we have that confidence knowing that if I'm not there to make a decision, you've got a business partner that you trust implicitly to make those decisions and not question at all what direction that he's going with it or the business is going. So it's just been sort of a dream to be able to work alongside your best friend. So what is retirement planning? Seems like a pretty simple question, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this. And it all starts with setting goals, especially when it comes to looking at your income and expenses. So often when we're sitting down with folks here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, they're all focused on, well, how much do I have to have saved? You know, is it $500,000, $1 million? You know, they start throwing out these numbers, and the figure could be very different for one person versus another. And again, it all comes back to how much are you going to spend in retirement, and what are those known income sources? So you want to start with Social Security. Okay, what does that look like? You know, evaluate when you're going to be drawing Social Security, so you sort of have an idea of what that figure is. Do you have potentially a pension from a current or previous employer that, again, you can count on that income? Or do you have an annuity through some insurance company that has some type of guaranteed income stream based on the claims paying ability of that insurance company? So those are your known income sources. So you're going to take your expenses, subtract that, and sort of find out, okay, what's that gap? What do you need to fill that gap? And so that's where your retirement savings comes into play. And how much then, as you start building your plan, how much are you going to be contributing into your different retirement plans? And along with that, how much risk are you willing to take? Is it something where, oh, okay, I'm 20, 30 years away from retirement, so I'm willing to take more risk, but that's sort of that growth and accumulation phase of your life. But what about when you're transitioning then to more of a preservation of wealth and income, and you want to generate an income stream from that portfolio? And then there's that sort of awkward time frame as you get closer where you're just a few years away from retirement. You probably don't want to be quite as aggressive just in case the market doesn't cooperate. So a lot goes into then figuring out what investments you're going to choose to help you accomplish those goals. And again, when do you want to begin this? Obviously, the sooner the better. That's for sure. And even if you're a little bit later in life and oh, okay, the kids are out of the house now, and still have 10, 12 years or what have you before you're focused on retirement, okay, that's a time where you're definitely going to want to be setting that money aside, building up that retirement plan. And ultimately, when is it that you want to retire? That's going to be a big decision, and you don't want to have a mistake with that. That's something that nobody wants to say, well, I really messed up. I should have continued working longer, because that job that you had may no longer be available for you. So you want to be confident ultimately and build an all-encompassing sort of retirement plan. You should include an income plan. Again, map out what that looks like. An investment plan, a tax plan, estate plan, and ultimately insurance plan are all going to be working alongside each other. When it comes to insurance, specifically health insurance, people are seeing how that's drastically changed over the years. And so if you're going to be retiring prior to 65, starting to evaluate what are the costs for a marketplace plan and what sort of insurance does that offer. A lot of times people today, we're seeing continuing to work till age 65 to get to Medicare, or maybe they're picking up some type of part-time work if they retired earlier, ultimately we hear to cover those health insurance costs. Other areas to consider may be factoring your home, and is it something that are you looking to downsize in retirement, or are you looking to potentially relocate to another area based on family or whatever desires? Do you have a mortgage? Ultimately, best off to try and get that paid off by retirement, or have you considered, is it your goal to have a second home and what those costs are going to look like? So again, there are a wide variety when it comes to retirement planning. Isn't just, oh, here's a slip of paper that shows how much I saved for retirement. So much more goes into it, and that's where we encourage you to give us a call here at Centennial Wealth Advisory for a no-cost, no-obligation second opinion, just to help you ultimately plan to retire well.